Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Inquiring Together. My name is Anthony Barreto. On this channel, we look to bring the science into political science, explore the interplay between advanced technology and our relationship to the world, and see if we can figure out for ourselves whether we can move forward together. On this episode, we're going to touch on what is the value of arts and entertainment. We are here today in this modern age, consuming entertainment easier than ever before. We can play video games on the computer, on the consoles. We can watch movies, stream TV shows. We can read electronic books. We can read comics. We can do all sorts of stuff. And certainly over the past decades, art has been more accessible due to the internet. There was a time where we collected DVDs and such, and there was a time we could only go to the theaters to see a film. And certainly the centralization of entertainment has, in terms of viewing ability, changed drastically. The financial model is still centralized, but the ways that movies are made and how fast they're made, or video game industry, how large it's become a booming business. And if we look to about 20 years ago, we could see there was a time where comedy could be much more, let's say, frank or out there, or what would be considered perhaps offensive. In today's day and age, a lot of comedy needs to be very toned down. And it looks like over the past decades, the crisis in this world has gotten worse. And we could see that for ourselves. We could see what the cost of war is, not only in lives, but financially. We could see that turning to the past for the answers doesn't bring the solution to these problems. We could see different fields looking for an answer, and they don't bring an answer. And we could see politicians, they do not bring an answer. They won't transform this world. The philosophies, the ideologies, they won't transform this world. And arts and entertainment is a cornerstone of most parts of the world. Here in the West, arts and entertainment had found itself in what seems like a feedback loop, wherein there are continuous remakes, remasters, and reboots. And it brings division. It brings division because there are many out there who ask themselves, why this again? Why this again? And others say, this is going to be great to play the same thing over again, or see the same thing over again. And when it comes to financial decisions in terms of investing into arts and entertainment, something that's already tried and true is going to make a safe bet. So a feedback loop, then, when it comes to arts and entertainment and its impact on being able to honestly express this world in an artistic format, and how it can allow for passing of time to reflect on what is going on within oneself in this world, as well as perhaps come to some sort of perspective that could lend towards the reality of this world. And the reality of this world is that it's in a crisis. The feedback loop then makes for a continuous rerun of the same sort of ideological perspective. It is meant for the developer and the audience to have the same perspective. That feeds back, should feed back. And so there's much debate, contention, and strife over it when the same ideology is not adhered to. So we have the outer conflict going into arts and entertainment and feeding into inner conflict. And so there's all sorts of necessities, business-wise, to take in consideration. What is the message here? What is the tone here? Is this appropriate here? What our audience is going to expect? What do they want? What do they want? What makes financial sense for us? And in that separation, what is lost is the willingness to come to and observe, to come to whatever medium it is, whether it's movies or video games or art, and observe. Observe it for what it is, as well as create for the sake of creation, for the sake of the satisfaction that an honest self-expression provides an artist. So we have developers who are conditioned, have all sorts of conditions they need to meet. And you have audiences who have all sorts of conditions they need to meet that's spurned by the conflict of this world. When conflict and this crisis in this world becomes out of control, arts and entertainment has to take a step back. Is there a way to cast away all of that? Because then, if all of that is cast away, coming to a tale that jumps out of the feedback loop, which means it's developed with the conflict of this world and in observation. To observe that this conflict is happening and that one isn't separate from the crisis in this world. What happens then is that the separation within these fragments and pockets of fandoms, they must collapse because they can't compare to the seriousness. They can't be serious. Not compare to the seriousness of this crisis. So if those conflicts and divisions then come to an end, and a work of art is put together which finally decentralizes the financial model of what is already essentially decentralized entertainment. People can make their own video games. They can find a video game online for free. They can find a movie online for free. People can make their own movies with an iPhone. People will eventually be able to use AI to make whatever movie, whatever video game, whatever anything that piques their interest. But the portion of the work of art, which is an inquiry together amongst us, humans, is one which to come to the art is an inquiry together, to which coming to the art is in reference to developing and being an audience for the art, coming to it, observing it in a manner which there isn't a separation. So the same sort of energy that will be reflected from an observation that is whole, clear, and sound, and attention that is as pin drop as one would be when asking honestly about the crisis in this world. Asking oneself honestly, is this world in a crisis? Because if one were to, it'd be a pin drop. And going ahead and that transferring right over, right around into an audience. Except it's different from a feedback loop because there's no particular direction that is being asked of the audience. No particular persuasion. No particular objective. No particular ideology. And so it's a simultaneous freedom. Freedom for oneself and another. So it becomes simple to put together. But it may be challenging considering how fast-paced, how anxiety-inducing the crisis in this world is. But if a work of art can be one which demonstrates both in the work of art, you see there's no separation. In the art itself, in the depiction, in the tale, in the art of making something, the process of making something, is a tale. A tale of which isn't separate from oneself. Because that's what one is: knowledge, memory, and experience. But in recording amongst relationship, you see, art is recreation, record, and film, movies, video games, television, always recording. Is it possible for the brain to not record amongst relationship between like and dislike, between conflict and no conflict, between neither friend nor enemy? There's such a space, such a dynamic. Is what this fast-paced world, when it comes to entertainment, is sorely lacking. Because we'll find productions go through very automated and mechanical process. Something's put together and it's then filtered through the like and dislike machine. And there could be something that many people like and a minority dislike, and it's the same thing. The people who like it will call the people who don't like it toxic. The people who dislike it will call the people who like it as imbeciles. And it'll be vice versa. There'll be other productions that a lot of people dislike and only a few like. So, and it'll be the same instance. over and over again. But we need to ask ourselves, especially with tales that depict the conflict of this world, ones that deal with military, nuclear war, competing ideologies, factions, ones that hit home. Do these works of art make an impact in the world? And ask it whether it can be ever free from this conflict? Such would be a valuable work of art. In the sense that unconditional freedom from conflict holds no value over another. A observation which is not bound to psychological time is timeless, a timeless quality.